Have you ever wondered how much of the Viennese experience you could get on a quick, overnight, weekend excursion? Well, let's find out and see how we did. So we arrived in Vienna around lunchtime and had to get some schnitzel. We just came out of here, a moment where Jamie had the chicken schnitzel and I had the veal. They were amazing. Fluffy, salty, buttery. But you don't have to take my word for it.
That's good.
Our first stop, heading towards the center of town and ultimately to our hotel, was the University Botanical Garden. Located immediately adjacent to the Botanical Garden is the Belvedere Palace. We couldn't get in on short notice, but walking around the grounds was enough to admire the magnificent 18th century Baroque architecture. A pleasant walk across town brings us to the magnificent Gothic masterpiece, the towering Cathedral of St. Stephen's. Perhaps symbolically as the conscience of Vienna, today this is the site of a protest against the war in Ukraine.
That has no humanity.
Many European cathedrals allow you the opportunity to make the inevitably laborious climb up the tower to get a view from the roof. Here, on the other hand, you get to ride an elevator. The tower affords beautiful views of the city of Vienna and especially the colorful roof tiles that make this cathedral so distinct. Back on Earth, we set out again on foot. Following a terrible plague in 1679, the Habsburg Emperor Leopold built this column to represent defeat of the plague by the emperor's piety. Though this looks like another example of Baroque architecture, this wing of the Hofburg Palace was actually built at the turn of the 20th century. Behind it, and of comparable vintage, are the palm houses and the whimsical butterfly gallery. With tickets to see Die Chameleon Dame at the opera that night, we didn't have a lot of time for dinner, and that meant a quick hot dog, maybe the original Vienna sausage. I forgot to turn the microphone on when I was trying it, but I believe I said something to the effect of, "That's good." Everything is really classy inside the opera house. Including the snack bar. And as usual, no photos or videos, so enjoy a little bit of the music and some freely available pictures from the internet. And so ends day one. Day two begins in this unusual cafe where you take your morning coffee sitting in a vintage elevator. After breakfast, we hopped on the tram and headed over to the museum's quarter, where a broad array of options awaited us.
Okay, good morning. It's our second day in Vienna. We spent our first day walking around town, getting our orientation, getting our bearings, and only seeing a couple of things. So today, our last day, we want to get into a museum. But which one to go into? Right there is the Fine Art Museum with masterpieces from around Europe. Behind me is a Leopold Museum with modern Viennese art. Over there is a Natural History Museum. Right over there is the Ethnographic Museum that has a quetzal headdress from Mexico. It's supposed to be incredible, so we're probably gonna go check out the Leopold Museum and see if we can get something else in afterwards.
The Leopold Museum offers a crash course in the Viennese contributions to modern art, including the late 19th century Succession movement, led by Gustav, Klimt, and others, plus a substantial collection of works by Egon Schiele, who was himself mentored by Klimt and then went on to achieve significance of his own. A reconstruction of Klimt's studio offers something of a glimpse into the personal life of the artist. With some time left in the day, we headed across the street to the Weltmuseum Wien, the Ethnographic Museum. The Mesoamerican collection is very impressive on its own, but the centerpiece of the collection, and indeed the museum, is this 16th century quetzal headdress from Mexico. The only one of its kind, the headdress is apparently much too delicate to move, and despite repeated efforts from the Mexican government to get it repatriated, it remains in Austria. The only minor concession is that tourists from Mexico, anyone with a Mexican passport, can get in the museum for free to see it. Our final stop before heading out of town, on the recommendation of a friend, was lunch at Trzeźniewski's buffet. Here, an array of small, open-faced sandwiches are sold cheaply and eaten quickly by happy locals.
This is the herring egg with onion. That's good.